What's up, you guys? Welcome back to church. It is your boy Jason, along with your other boy Warren, the two men, as it were.
That's right.
I apologize, and it just for everybody listening. What was that intro? I don't know. We're gonna
That was great, man.
You know what? We're gonna have to use AI.
Come on,
to make that better, which segues me very cleanly into our topic. No, so tonight we wanted to talk about AI, and before we get into all that, Warren and I both, our apologies to the fans. We missed last week. We made it almost a full year and never missed a week. But you guys should be grateful that you have podcast hosts that are so in demand, so busy that we had to miss a week, but we're back. So we apologize for leaving you without a dope beat to step to.
Come on.
So little Aaliyah reference there for those that don't know. Shout out to my mom who will not understand that reference, but we still love her watching anyways. And my kids, you hear the age gap there. There's like a span where you and I understand that reference, Warren, and then my kids will not, and my parents will not. So
man, we're alone in that, huh?
Yeah. Isn't it funny how culture, culture just moves? There's like a 10 to 15, maybe 20-year gap where everybody understands. Because if my parents, for instance, made there's a chance, there's an outside chance I wouldn't understand a reference to like the Monkees or the Beatles, and my kids could make a, let's just throw it out there. Like, I'm trying to think of a band I don't really know, like, or Sabrina Carpenter, those kind of people. There are definitely students who make reference to that stuff. And I'm like, you got me getting old. So
speaking of generational gaps, since you brought it up and since you just brought it up, right?
Let's do it.
So playlists, right? You can get playlists like just auto-generated AI.
Yes. Right.
So I was surprised that my children know Michael Jackson.
Okay. All right.
They know Michael Jackson. Like I got a span of children, right? So my oldest is 26 and my youngest is 6. They all know Michael Jackson. And I'm a Michael Jackson fan, but I don't play a whole lot of his music. Not to the fact that they know like Jackson 5, they know Thriller. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. Who taught you Michael Jackson? There should be an age gap there. I guess not, right? So I asked my daughter, I was like, do you know Whitney Houston? She's like, who? I'm like, oh man, I've failed you. I have failed you. Like, like in my book, Whitney Houston is the Michael Jackson of female. So I'm like, wait a minute, what happened here?
That Bodyguard soundtrack got us through a lot of Christmas decorating in December with my mom and them. So that was, shout out, RIP Whitney Houston, Bodyguard soundtrack. But what were you saying? How did they figure out Michael Jackson?
That's the thing about it. I don't know how he got into their musical repertoire, and Whitney missed it, and they barely know Mariah. And I'm like, wait a minute. What am I?
He must have transcended, there must be something about, because Michael Jackson's music was really poppy and fun. And I wonder if he just transcended culture a little bit. Like he's one of those larger than life. Like here, this struck me. Michael Jordan is like 62 years old now. Like I believe he was born in 62. So he's coming up on 63.
Oh, wow.
Here in just a little bit. Cause I know this because I bought a Michael Jordan calendar and we were looking at February and it has his birthday. And I think it's like the 17th of February, not to out him, but I'm sure we can look this up on Wikipedia. 60 something years old. I'm like, Michael Jordan is 60 something. I lived through every era of that. Like I remember him when he was 30. I remember him when he was 20 something. I remember him when he was 40 playing in the league and now as an owner. It's just, anyways, back to our topic of the day. We're 4 minutes in and we're like all over the map. We missed each other, you guys. If you couldn't tell, we missed chatting. So speaking of being all over the place, another good segue. Today's episode is going to be about AI.
Ooh, let's go.
We thought it would definitely be appropriate to talk about because it's just on people's mind. Yeah. For those that don't know, a Chinese AI that got released called DeepSeek just tanked our stock market like yesterday, yesterday or 2 days ago. At the time of recording, we don't usually do the dates, but it's like end of January 25. When DeepSeek came out, because it costs so little compared to Chat GPT and the infrastructure they're building, and NVIDIA and Meta and all these people are competing for AIs. When DeepSeek came out, and by the way, there's some, I have no inside info. I'm the furthest thing from a AI researcher or reporter, but there's suspicion that potentially some of that technology came from insider baseball from Chat GPT and was maybe taken without permission, if you will. So the ideas then got implemented for DeepSeek in China, and there's these benchmarks that AI hits in terms of all the things it can do, and DeepSeek for way less cost was doing the exact same things that ChatGPT is doing. So what does that mean? All this investment in NVIDIA for chips, all this investment in Meta and Google and all these companies that are going to be the forerunners in AI, or so we assumed that it was going to all come from the US. It shows that China's competing for less cost. So all of it tanked on fears. And it was that, and then, not to get too far into it, but the Japanese yen trade, Japan raised their interest rates. So now it's not really free money that you can make off taking the Japanese yen and investing in something to make dollars back. Whatever. Really, the AI news was the biggest headline of them all. And so with DeepSeek coming out, it just shows the speed at which AI is moving. So when we have an episode, it felt important to talk about it. We've talked a lot about Bitcoin, which obviously I think will be the financial liquidity for AIs. Like when they interact, why would you need to talk to a bank when you can just, fund your different projects together? That's going to be the crazy part. And they already did this, by the way. They let two AIs try to do commerce with one another, two agents that they built early on. They used Bitcoin without prompting because it's obvious what would be the easiest way to transact with one another. So that being said,
that was deep.
Thanks.
Just kind of dropped that left.
I don't want to be, but the point is, the real point is this morning, what are the odds of this? And you didn't know this, and I actually gave a presentation to a group of fellow faculty and staff here at Chuan University about AI and the ways that it's used in creative fields this morning. Yeah. So I'm primed. I'm fresh and ready.
You're ready.
So let me kick it to you real quick, because I'm just going to be talking endlessly about stuff that people may not care about or know. But what are your thoughts on AI? Where are you coming from? And are there any questions I can answer for you as your resident? There's two people in this conversation, and I feel like I'm the resident expert on AI.
Yeah.
So
I would say so there, Professor. You are definitely, you just gave a presentation on AI. So we're just going to rack your brain today a little bit about that.
How can I be of service?
So I'll be the general consumer here, right? I'll be the novice of AI. Well, I will say, I graduated December of 23, and I'm going to tell you, I was a straight A student. Let's go. Summa cum laude. Let's do it.
No big deal.
ODU.
No big deal.
Right? No big deal. No big deal. Right?
Yeah. We remain humble on the church podcast.
We remain humble. I did a majority of my coursework. Keyword here is majority, right? I did the majority of my coursework by studying, reading, and doing research. Old school. I had a group project, and I'm sitting with, and I'm an adult student, right? I think I'm 42 or something. I'm an adult student, retired military. I'm just, I'm doing it. Encyclopedia. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right?
Look for an Encyclopedia Britannica and hold on tight.
We're getting it done, right? Yeah. And we're doing this project, and they're using AI. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I mean, she pulls it up, they're blowing my mind. They're like, and she's like, how do you do your homework? I'm like, I get the textbook, I read the chapter, I feel like, I write the paper. She's like, you do? Like, you have time for that? And she's like, all of the work they give us, like, how's your time management? Like, don't you have kids? I was like, yes. She's like, and you don't utilize AI to like help you? Like, you still have to study for the test, but for our assignments, AI helps us to, maintain a high grade point average and, plow through a lot of material. And I was like, yeah, no. So they schooled me that day, and I was like, I didn't understand just how good AI was. I mean, my connection with AI would be like, I have smart speakers in my home, and I'm not going to like call out their name because they'll start talking right now. Right. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just being able to ask the weather and, what's the score of the football game, stuff like that. Right. That's AI, general information. but it's so advanced now. I mean, it wasn't writing papers back then, but it's writing papers now. It's everywhere. AI is in your car. It's definitely in your pocket. It's in your home. I mean, everything's becoming smarter, and looks like all the smart, appliances or, hardware is connecting to AI in some way, right?
Yep.
It's a learning model. I think that it's a little bit apprehensive because marketing has just gone out of control. Like,
okay.
I mean, so if you have smart speakers, I have them, right? And they listen to you. Trust me, they listen to you. Like, mention Disney on the smart speaker, I'm probably gonna get all kind of ads tonight. Like, hey, hey, you want to go to Disney? Hey, half off.
Or take your family on a carnival cruise with Disney.
It's gonna, and you start to think like, everything's marketed toward you purchasing something or you doing something. AI is like, it's, I think we look at it as like, oh, it's information can help us, but I think it's designed so that you can remain a consumer, that you can remain purchasing. I think that's the main model that keeps AI driving forward, and it does some pretty radical things. I've been blessed to have a Tesla. I drive a Rivian, and those cars can drive themselves.
That's right.
They know when to turn. I mean,
you used AI quite a bit.
I've it's all over the place. My one concern is as AI gets deeper into the fabric of our life, how does it integrate with the church? How does it show up in our spiritual life? How does it show up in our day to day? Right. I remember when social media kind of exploded. Right. It was a revolution to where people just, they had thousands of friends, but they had no friends.
I see. Yeah.
And so I'm just wondering what's the effect that AI is going to have on people now? Now it's artificial intelligence. What else will become artificial in your life because AI starts to replace things? And then how does that affect the church? And how does that affect our walk with Christ? And so does it enhance it? Does it distract us? Like, how does that even affect local churches? Does it change the way that services look? Does it change the way that, assimilation into the community of the church look? How does all that thing, because, now to serve in the church, you build relationships, you get on teams and, I can see one day you signing in, to join a church and, AI takes over and assigns you to a team and, you no longer have that, kind of connection or, so I wonder in the future what direction that's going to take us and how it's going to go.
You're kind of, are you talking about things like going to church on your VR headset and like augmented reality and things like that?
Whoa, you took it. You know what? Hey, local churches. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You may be onto something here. VR headsets. That's a whole nother episode there, because could you imagine the experience? And those people are like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, if you've been walking with God for a while, we'll call you advanced Christian or old saint, however you want to say it.
There you go. I like old saint.
We know about these personal worship sessions. We know about these sessions that we have in an empty house or, in an empty office. Could you imagine in your own personal worship time, being able to tap into a service?
Yeah. It's coming, I think, where you'll be able to attend. So anything we can think of, it'll be more advanced than what I'm saying. But right now, if you place a camera in a service and it does like a 3D scan of the room, I'm sure you could attend right now, like VR. Now, I don't know how like powerful the experience or authentic it's going to feel, but at some point, augmented reality will just be like a part of our life where computer screens will be projected from glasses that we wear, or like I don't want to go there, I guess, Neuralink implants and things like that. And the truth is, so just to clarify, I am less apprehensive and more excited about AI.
Okay.
Like I lean towards being more hopeful, because I think I look at like the idea that we are already robots. Like if you have a cell phone in your hand, you can already do more than anybody in the 1950s. Like if I ask your neighbor or anyone, let's say, I mean, even more recently than that, like the 1970s, like, man, what animal was it again that mates for life? You know, you just say something like that and you're like, I think it's penguins. And then you Google it now and you'll be like, oh, it's actually 20 different kinds of animals. I had no idea. And so you basically became an Encyclopedia Britannica the minute that you have Google in your hand. Now, in theory, you didn't know that off the cuff, but what is the difference between, you know, an Android who can tell you that or you looking it up and it giving you feedback? And the speed at which AI is going, we're not robotic as people, but we are kind of robots. If you have a smartphone, you are connected to the internet.
Ooh.
There is very little physical disconnection between you and the internet, right? And so that to me, you know, I think it's a common saying with money where it's like the more money you get, the more of what you are, you become, right? So it isn't like money corrupts you. It's like if you were kind and gave before, you will have more ability to give. And it typically will be that expressed that way. If you were selfish, and maybe you didn't fully express it because you didn't have enough money to be selfish with, you will be more selfish. Or it's an interesting thing. Like if you meet truly wealthy people, the very interesting thing happens where like you realize they sound, if you listen to them, they would sound financially insecure, right? Like, you know, but it's because they have a thing now, they want to keep it and they worked hard to earn it because they didn't have enough. So you just keep grinding and grinding and grinding. But then sometimes people like, and whether you're wealthy or not, if you give, you just give. And it's kind of like, you know, you're not seeking credit, you're just giving, anyway, whatever. It's all those kind of things. So what's my point about AI? If you want to do the wrong things with your cell phone, you can do it. Right now, you could pick up your cell phone and do something unhealthy for you. Or you could pick up your cell phone and download the apps or do the things that are the healthy choices for you, right? How about this, married couples? You can text your wife, but there's nothing stopping you from texting a girlfriend. There's nothing stopping you from texting, right? People get caught destroying relationships with phones. Just like if you open my phone, you could catch me trying to build my relationship up and talking to my friends, talking to my wife and like, and trying to do the right things. Right. So the phone isn't the problem. To me, AI will operate the same way, but just like some people would accuse the phone or money or weapons, whatever people do, they like blame the thing. But humans are still controlling the thing. Because I don't think what we're talking about yet is like AI having a mind of its own and doing something nefarious. That's not, I mean, that I'm saying put that aside for now. AI as a tool, like you still get to dictate how you use it. And so in terms of it destroying relationships in the terms of faith, like I think what I would like to do is use AI to, so one thing I have done is if I'm researching for sermons, it makes it much faster.
Oh yeah.
Like, hey, I'm doing a sermon. So the other day I was like, I want to use a metaphor of building a house. And so I literally used AI and was like, what are the parts of a house when you're building it? Because I don't think I would have thought of like, oh yeah, the frame. So then I could use that metaphor and be like, what would a frame be? And I'm not saying I just nailed it. Like, oh, it was the perfect metaphor, but like
it was.
Thanks, man. It gave me the parts and pieces where it was like, I knew about a foundation and I obviously know houses have roofs, but I didn't think of like the framework, that interior wood and those kind of things. I don't think I would have like conceived of that because I don't build houses. Like I know it exists, but AI was like, here are the steps to building a house. And I was like, there we go. Now I didn't include like electrical wiring and plumbing, but that is part of it. I just was like, I can't make that metaphor work, but I use parts and pieces. And then if I want to look up Bible verses that have certain words or keywords or themes, oh boy, it's like the fastest concordance ever.
Yeah.
In like 3 seconds. But I could also Google, ways to do inappropriate things. Mm-hmm. I could also Google the wrong things or make imagery of the wrong things. Or I'm saying wrong, like unhealthy things for you. Mm-hmm. But it's your choice. And so in the same way, I think, I wonder if it's not sci-fi movies that like depict the worst outcome over and over again because it's intense and it makes us like, I don't know. It's essentially storytelling, and they are fantasy stories that someone makes up. Not to say they couldn't happen. I get that things can happen from movies, right? Star Trek had sliding doors. Mm-hmm. Now we have sliding doors at Walmart. We take for granted. Yep. So movies inspire life, and life inspires movies, right? What I'm saying is, it doesn't have to be that way, and it isn't inherently going to be negative. People will do it one way or the other. Mm-hmm. And so that I guess my choice is to look at AI like this is a supplementary tool to collaborate with humans. Yeah. Like I want it to augment my creativity. I want it to augment the good things I want to do, not replace me.
It's good.
Does that make sense? So
it makes perfect sense.
That's how I'm looking at it. What do you think of that?
I think you are, AI is like this new thing, right? And everything comes with caution. Yeah. Everything's like, oh my God, this is new, right? But when you were talking, I just thought about, the metaphor of the handgun. Or any gun for that.
Careful.
For any gun for that measure, right?
Yeah,
right?
It's not, yeah. Right.
I'm sure when guns readily became available to civilians, not just law enforcement or military, right? People were, oh my goodness, guns, right? Because guns can take life or they can save life.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can be used for good. They can be used for bad, right? And they're used for both all the time, right? And so I can relate that to kind of AI, like, it can be used for really good purposes and it can be used for bad purposes. Yeah. The AI, I don't think it's going to be the problem. I think it will be the humans controlling it or the humans, programming it or requesting it or whatever, however you interact with it. Right. So I think that it's always been that whatever it's been, when the automobile came out, it was great. And then until somebody started drinking and driving, then it wasn't great,
Right.
Exactly, so everything has that kind of ebb and flow of bad and good. I don't think they're, just like money itself, right? The root of all evil, right? No, but it's the love of the money.
Love of money, right?
It's not the money itself.
I was like, wait a minute.
It's the love of it, right? But we seem to take that out. Money is the root of, no, you forgot a piece there, right?
Yeah.
And so anything can be destructive. We can take anything and be destructive with it. It's kind of on us as the keepers of Christian culture to balance that life for the world, to be the light of the world in all situations, dealing with all things. We don't have to run scared from anything, right? We can embrace it and lean into it. And I like your attitude, how you lean into it in the academia area, because you're teaching like from the ground up. Like this is, so pioneering some of those programs, because guess what? AI could be the difference between, small church experience, becoming way better, doing a whole lot more with way less, and increasing your power to reach the world with the gospel, that's an amazing thing that AI can do. And, look at us, 2 guys, 2 cameras, 2 mics. You know what I'm saying? We get to talk about all kinds of things that are normally not talked about in church and intertwine God in it in our life. And it's like, man, technology.
That's interesting to think about. Like we probably couldn't do this 5 years ago.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and it will, especially at this level, like I'm not sure Riverside would exist as a company. Like the idea of it would be like, well, that's going to be too difficult. It's going to require too much server upkeep and whatever that is. Like, what does streaming look like? Talking to another? I mean, FaceTime, all these kind of technologies that we take for granted. So AI is going to speed up all those things. And I think it's going to speed up a lot of good things and speed up a lot of unhealthy behaviors too.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, medical use for AI is going to be awesome.
Oh yeah.
Like body scans and catching precursors, not cancer, but like precursors to cancer. So you can be like, in 5 years, if you're not careful, that's it. Like you're headed that way. And so, being able to look at genetics and look at blood work and like extrapolate out from all aggregated data. I actually used this point earlier today. When you go to a doctor, do you realize like they are guessing? Now, yes, they're using educated guesses. They are using medical school educated, experientially educated guesses. But in theory, even if they have a 99% hit rate, they're using their best guess at what's going on with you, right? Because your sore knee probably has something to do with your knee, but it could be some cancer that has spread. Well, AI is guessing, but based on the aggregated knowledge of all medical everything that's ever been transcribed and taken into a language learning model, you know? So the large learning models that they're building, like the server farms that they're putting together and the warehouses full of computers that are going to run all these AIs, like that's giving us better guesses. It's giving us better access to information, not truth. And I think that's going to be one of the challenges, though, is at some point people could potentially worship some high level AI as though it's bringing a higher truth because it's aggregating it all together. And, you know, people are easily misled by a lot of things. So that's the danger is, how cautious are you being? Like, how aware of your choices are you being? And I mean, I don't know. I don't even, I don't know. I don't even paint in those lines when I think about AI sometimes, because to me, like, I'm so excited for the advances and I know negative things are going to happen. But I think if you had some magic wand and you paused AI innovation tomorrow and like got rid of it, wiped it from everybody's mind, people would still find a way to do bad things. You know, or find a way to do the wrong things. And so then where are we left? We like, it's really about our nature and challenging us. Like, AI is a tool, use it appropriately and wisely. But that's going to be the challenge in a fallen world, right? As these tools get better. So what's the, I'm curious to be like, so you've seen AI stuff, you've self-driven, all these things. What's like the coolest or best thing you've seen about AI, and what's the worst part or scariest part for you? Ooh. So like, what's the best and worst? What are the two extremes in your mind?
That's a good question.
Thanks, man.
That's a great question.
Biggie, right?
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Man.
Would it help if I went first?
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay.
You got this one. Yeah, hesitation.
Thanks, man. So I think my favorite, I'm going to say it this way, like maybe not the best thing, but my favorite thing is the idea that lifespan will extend as well as health span for people. So we could get to like 120-year threshold, right? Within our lifetime, pretty much, because the advances they're making, they already have the ability to make vaccines that would target the cancer cells of your body and destroy them without hurting anything else. Like that's what mRNA research is in the best use or instance of it. There's a company that's working right now that I heard about on a podcast the other day that for women's like breast cancer surgeries, and I'm repeating it if people have heard the podcast already, but for those that haven't, 30% of the time, so at 3 out of every 10 women that have some kind of breast cancer surgery, a lumpectomy or a mastectomy, they miss some of the cancer. Well, this company is developing scanners that go into the operating room so that I forewent the point. Like if you miss some of the surgery, that woman may have to have 2 or 3 surgeries to get the cancer out, and it will destroy. It's like a traumatic surgery to have, right? It's really hard on the body. This way, instead of waiting 7 to 11 days to get that biopsy back, this company will live on the spot uses AI to scan the, I guess, bisected or the lumpectomy that they end up doing, the cancerous body that they pull out. It scans it right then to tell you, did you get 100% of the cancer or not? So to me, that's just one medical thing. It's like, man, imagine that. That's 3 women out of every 10, 30% of women that deal with breast cancer surgery, that it immediately makes your life at least a little bit easier, or the doctor's life easier when he's doing surgery, or she or they are doing surgery. So, I mean, that's just like the medical ramifications of this are being able to live healthier, and like health, I think, leads way onto way for happy. Like when you feel more content, when you have your body under control. Who was it? RFK Jr. today said, a healthy person can have 1,000 dreams. I may be misquoting, but it's something like a healthy person can have 1,000 dreams, where a sick person only has one dream.
Being healthy.
Right? So
that's good.
That, I mean, I was
that's
like,
really good.
That's really good, right? And I can't take credit, but I was like, wow, that's good. And so if AI can help us get there and help these medical professionals guess more accurately and better to a high percent, where it feels like it's not even guessing anymore because they're so accurate, that seems like a real plus. The downside would be lack of control. I think people are going to panic over that kind of thing. There's a lot of people that'll fight the idea of self-driving cars because they want the control, even though the statistics say it's safer. I think the challenge will be, I think AI is going to filter. My wife is this grosses my wife out a little bit when it comes up, but like AI is going to filter into robots, which means AI will be, I don't know if I'll use the word infiltrating, but AI will become a part of romantic relationships at some point, because
like robots.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, man. Because I know plenty of, or have known plenty of men that it would be at least something they would think about if you told them they could have a significant other that would never question their choices, right? that would never tell them they're doing the wrong thing. That would, how about like a wife that's
good.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Or like, I mean, the flip side,
the concept is like, I feel what you're saying. I'm like, dude, what?
I mean, and so here's the challenge. It creates romantic relationships of convenience, not of commitment. And so to me, that will be one of the negative outcomes. And it is coming. It will be happening. I'm not guaranteeing it, but like the odds that it doesn't happen is low. So disordered thinking about romantic relationships, where you want it to be the easiest it can be. Well, what's easier than programming your significant other? So as advancements are made in robotics, where you can't tell the difference between a robot and a human, like the skeletal structure will get better. Like you'll probably hear the servos, what's the word again? For like the joint servos, isn't that right? I'm forgetting the word. Anyway, like the joint parts of a robot and things like that kind of make that sound. All of that, man, internet should eat me up on this one. I can't believe I can't remember the name of it. Whatever. All those will get quieter. So it won't be, it will just be like, oh, that's a human maybe. Or just like the images with AI, as they got better and better. And now it's like, is that a fake person? Like now already we're at the place where you can be an influencer on YouTube and be an AI. Like it's a totally fake man or woman that's selling a product. It's already hard to tell. Wow. So you don't think that's coming with robots in 10, 20 years tops?
Wow.
That they'll have a robot that like has articulating fingers like this, and you know, it just whatever. It's going to be a fully automated whole person that is
a downside.
Right. And you could pick the personality, and I mean, this sounds like a stand-up comedy joke, but I think people will really be excited about a husband or wife where you can like power them down. You know?
Whoa. Like, go to sleep.
Well,
man,
imagine,
that's messed up.
imagine a wife. So what about a wife who like doesn't care if you're out late every night? What about a wife who doesn't care how much time she gets with you, or on the flip side, doesn't care how much of her time you get? So you need to talk to her for 7 hours because you're bored. Why would the AI care? Right? It's going to be a personal AI agent inside your fictional but real love interest. So it's a strange new world, man. Like it's going to be like bizarre. And so again, just like every other tool, you get to choose what the healthy way to use that is. And so best part is, to me, medical health. The challenging part will be mental health, if you want to call it that.
Wow.
Maybe that's, we have to be really careful. So where we don't blur lines in terms of like what a healthy relationship looks like. So,
wow.
That's what I think.
Okay.
So back to you, big guy.
Wow.
What's the
I'm gonna start off with the negative, right? We'll just kick off with the negative, so we end on a high.
Okay.
So got it. I think the biggest negative about AI and projecting at how fast it's moving, right? Probably anything that we say, I think you said this, anything we say, we're already behind the power curve. It's already probably in motion, probably already being worked out, right?
Yeah.
So this technology is moving so fast. I have an apprehensive, like just an uneasiness about, or a need to prepare for a world that is very virtual. Like, just like, and it's for a Christian, it's like double layered now,
Okay.
We live in the world, but we're not supposed to be of the world. Now there's going to be like 3 worlds, there's going to be like the world and then the world, like the virtual world, the non-existent, kind of like, you're talking about like AI partners and things like that, right? Just like how far will this go? How deep will this go into, just things appearing just not real? You ever walked into a movie and sat down and watched the movie and completely forgot about whatever was happening in your life? You were engulfed in the movie, like for that period of time.
Oh yeah.
You are in the movie. You are there. And then when it ends, you're like, oh yeah, gotta go home.
Yeah.
Gotta feed kids.
Yeah.
You're like, everything comes back, right? Imagine something like that never shedding off. Or shedding off once a week. Like, wait a minute, where have I been? Like, I've had these goggles on for 72 hours. Things like that happening because they're the eyewear is getting smaller. It's already one thing to be glued to your phone. Imagine if you can put on glasses and stroll.
Yeah.
Like, it would never end for you.
Well, and the cost of those things will go down and down and down because everything drops to the cost of production. And with technology, it just goes down. So then the threshold to have like a totally, what would you call it? Digital virtual life, that cost threshold will basically be like you paying for electricity, and you'll definitely be able to work from home.
Yep.
So what does life look like in your underwear?
What does life look like when it's
pajama pants every
day? When you
day?
physically don't have to do much and everything is virtual? And then what does it look like to reach people with the good news of Jesus when they've created a world where there's no problems, right? It's just I don't have to go out and make money. I can just put on these goggles and I'm as rich as I want to be. I can create my own virtual, you know what I'm saying? So now, like, why do I need a savior? Because I can save myself. Like, no, that's not the real world.
You're talking about Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Like throw on the headset and you're your own virtual character.
You are, you're living in a whole different, stratosphere now. And so that's one of my major concerns. Like, people are going to really detach from reality, real life, like, brick and mortar life versus, the online internet powered life where you can get anything in an instant. You can be anything in an instant. You can have any experience you want. And you don't have to, work for it. You can just type it in and it pops up. So that's kind of my, AI. Wow. Cause
slow down AI.
Yeah. Cause we are an excessive type of people. And you're like, wait a minute, out of control. I think the plus for me is just the breakthroughs in the amount of access that we'll be able to have in small packages and just what it's going to do on the good side. I think for ministry, I think that AI presents an opportunity for people to get the good news of God and in the places that it doesn't exist, get into places where and reach people who just wouldn't have been reached, who would never go walk through the doors of a church. Right.
Yeah.
It presents an opportunity for creators and ministers and people who have a passion to share the word of God and get in this space and actually do some revolutionary rethink how church is supposed to be and really reach some people with the love of God. I think it'll be life changing for people. But it's up to people like us to push the boundaries of what we believe or tradition, right? We have to evolve with a world that's evolving and use those tools for God, not just let the world use them for whatever, right? So we belong in this space. And I honestly believe God's created it for us. You know, like I think one of the best things is being able to watch church online. Do I prescribe to it all the time? No, but it also gives access to people who can't get there, or you know, it closes the gap for a lot of people. So I believe that the advancement of AI will close that gap even further, and it will allow for more influence, and it will allow for more outreach of good messages. Well, bad messages, yeah, you're gonna get both, right? But when you're on the good side, guess what? It's a challenge, you know, for every speaker out there, every preacher out there, every ministry out there. This is going to be a challenge for you. How do you keep pace and take a live, you know, type of gathering and create and also into the virtual world? Because it's going to be a virtual world. Yeah. Where's your place in it? Where will you exist? And so I think on the cutting edge of design and marketing, the church, the believers, the Christians, they have to be in this, you know, they have to be in this situation too. They can't just sit back and let it happen and be like, oh, we're late to the party. You know, they have to also adapt and move forward. And I'm excited about some of the things you're doing. Graphic design and teaching that stuff, because I know you're a catalyst. And I think that with innovation, you know, there's going to be some things that are just going to be just wide open to like.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. The most interesting thing, the biggest question I have is, what does it look like? What 15 years from now?
Ooh.
Because so Elon Musk said publicly that he thinks there's going to be 10 billion robots, androids, or whatever you want to call it, walking around. So it would be more than the population of the world maybe by then. So basically a robot to every human and all those things. So man, what does that future look like? And I think about that a little bit in terms of like, you know, false sense of security kind of thing. Like if you have a robot with you, it kind of protects you all the time. You know that the president will have like protection bots, you know what I mean? Because they definitely won't care about dying.
Yep.
Like they're definitely not going to care about sacrifice. And so it will be really interesting. Like, so one of the things that people ask that I'm curious about too, even though I wouldn't consider myself a skeptic, it's like, this is a question. In terms of AI, there's so many ways it's going to help us and automate things, but like, what year would you let, let's call it, I don't want to pick any brand because I try to avoid doing that on the pod. Like, let's say a really good robot. What year do you think it will be? Oh, you there? I thought we had like connection issue or something. Anyway, you're good. What year do you think it will be that you would let a robot change a baby's diaper in your family?
Ooh.
Like your grandkid.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like that. And that to me was such an interesting question. Like, so an AI, you can ask it a question and then ignore it. Okay. How much do you trust the things though, where it takes something out of your control? And that will be an interesting question for us. So like our phones, we get to choose who we call and things like that. And we haven't really felt a measure of loss of control. In fact, it's kind of additive. Like you said, it'll create a playlist for us and it happens to know our taste. That's awesome. But when a self-driving car is like, no, we're going this way. You're like, no, hold on. I don't want to go that way. You know, because it doesn't know that's a bad neighborhood. Right? It's just a shortcut. And you're like, no. Now, I'm not a doomer and gloomer. Like, I'm pretty sure they'll find a way around that. You could just change the route and be like, no, go this way.
Yeah.
But what year will it be when you feel comfortable having any one of these mini companies who's developing a robot, like, change a baby's diaper? Because they show videos now where it picks up an egg and doesn't break it, and then breaks it like normal on a bowl and makes eggs. Like, the robot makes eggs and there's no damage to the eggshell. So you know that there's like the ability to handle things with care. And I think a lot of what I want to avoid too in talking about all this, by the way, there's been a little tiny bit more doom and gloom in this episode than I want people to feel. Like, so to me, it's like God is still in control.
Oh yeah.
AI is just this thing we're building. But it is really interesting to me, at what point will like we be comfortable with that? Because so I don't know if you know this, in New York City, there were posters, I think we've talked about this before, where like when the innovation of like wires, what would you call them? Like electrical wires hanging over the streets and things were coming, and telephone wires. There were posters out
power
that
lines.
showed like people getting caught in them. Yeah, it showed people getting caught in power lines.
Yep.
And it was like, oh no, people are going to die. And I don't think a power line killed like any normal person, but there was this concept like people would fall out of their windows and onto power lines, or, you know, power lines were going to be all over the place and falling on people. And like we pictured one way that it was going to get used, and then it was something different. And that's true with a lot of things, like the advent of TV. Some people were freaked out and some people got too excited. Like we didn't even realize what it was going to become. And now it's just casual in the background. So I wonder when AI will make that turn. Like, well, yeah, of course. Like our kids will be like, AI is fine. Like it's just part of what we do. Or that robot in the house that does like the sweeping and the vacuuming and the laundry. Like that's just Steve the robot. Like we're not, you know what I mean? It's just going to be like, it'll be like a car. Like nobody looks at their car and they're like, that's weird. But it is strange, right? Like I think maybe some appreciation of that. It's just a strange future, man. And I'm excited for it because I think to fight the push of AI feels like, and you tell me what your opinion is on this. Like you could kind of take it out of your life, but it feels like two different things to me. One, it's the people who fought the internet. Like, oh, I don't want the internet in the classroom. We should just read books and, you know, those kind of things. But that seems like, am I using like a transparency projector and still drawing with marker to show you art? Or am I like using a computer? Well, the other thing I think of is like, is fighting the tide of AI, like putting, you know, those hurricane sandbags in front of your life when you see a wave that's like 10 feet overhead. You're like, I'm going to try to stop this. And it's just not stopping. Like it's coming. So I think I'd rather know about it. And I guess I say all that to say, if you're listening to this episode, I hope we haven't freaked you out and like scared you off. I think it's good to just stay aware, stay knowledgeable of the tools that are out there. If you want to be interacting in the world, you're going to experience some kind of AI, and it doesn't have to scare you.
Yeah.
It can be something that like what you were saying, Warren, I want ministry to get better. So then how does AI make ministry better? Not, oh man, AI is coming and it's going to destroy everything. Because fear will paralyze you into not doing anything with it. And then when the dust settles, you'll be like, oh, we used AI for good things too? I didn't know that. You know, it'll like be so far past you. So I just wouldn't want that for people. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't know where to take that.
Honestly, I'm an early adopter, right?
Yeah. Okay.
In 2015, when Tesla had one car, I was like, let's buy it. Let's go. Let's rock and roll, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. And so I think if AI was ready next month, next year, let's go. Let's try it out. Let's jump on the bandwagon.
Wait, right? Are you under the impression AI is not ready?
I'm just saying when it becomes available. I mean, I think.
Hold on, pause. Time. I have a subscription to Grok right now. That's like Elon Musk's AI. We have ChatGPT 4. Like, there's a lot out there, buddy. May I challenge you? You got to do some research, man.
I mean, I'm talking about the robot that changes baby.
Oh, you're talking about the robot.
I'm gonna have grandkids. Like, let's go.
Let's back up the pod for a few minutes. My fault. I did ask you that question. Yeah.
Let's go.
So you're talking about an AI powered robot.
Oh yeah, let's
My
go.
bad. I was thinking like AI. I was like, what AI exists? What do you mean?
Let's go.
Anyway.
Amazon has this little robot thing that I looked at. I was like, it doesn't do enough yet.
Oh, I'm with you. Like when it can prove like it's definitely early adopter. I don't know about early adopting robots.
I'll take care of it for you.
Okay, you'll get one. Okay, I'm not sure because just with the kids around, like I feel like if it was my wife and I,
robot run.
Yeah, I mean it's just like I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like with the kids around, there's some part of me. I do feel like now this is really strange to think about. If it was like a little box with wheels and it was like a robot, like a Roomba. No big deal. So technically I have a robot in my house right now, but it does one thing. When it looks like a human and can lift more weight than me, that's when it's like, oh man, that you gotta like, it's like having a really big dog in your house that like it's a really sweet dog, but it does get weird around strangers. So if you have a stranger come over, there's like let's call it a 1% chance that like, it nips or it goes after them, And so then what do you do with that dog? You probably put it in the bedroom or something when you put it away, like, or let it go outside, run around when you have people over. When it's your family, your people are there all the time.
Yeah.
And so then, man, that begs such a weird question for me. Like, what's the percent chance? I mean, it has to be 0, right? To have a robot in your house, there has to be a relative 0% chance this robot goes haywire and does something.
Or it'll be in my house and I'll take it out.
You do it. Okay. Oh, you'll take it out. Oh, okay. All right. This is you.
I guess we hit the 1% chance.
Yeah.
This is your lucky day, robot. You're going down.
This is your like fighting a cheetah conversation. Like, are you the kind of guy you think you could beat a cheetah in a fight?
Yeah.
Oh, see,
I'm the kind of guy that if there was a lion coming after me, I ain't running.
Like, it's over, baby.
You know what I'm saying?
No, you're
if there's a lion fighting me, help the lion. It's
somebody help the lion. I feel
lion's gonna be it's in trouble.
I think that too. Until I go to the zoo and I watch a lion like jump across the river or the tiger jump toward me, I'm like, ooh.
I'm like, I'm looking at the lion like you do know I'm a descendant of Daniel, right?
You better be careful.
Like I hang out in the same circles as Daniel.
That's
okay,
cool. Oh,
so don't play with me.
There.
Don't play with me.
Yeah. I actually like that. I should. In fairness, I worship a God who shuts lions' mouths. So
there you go.
Yeah.
I want to live to see a day where this technology makes a difference for the kingdom of God. And in a couple different ways, right? Yeah. So whoever's listening to the pod, don't steal these ideas. I'm working on them.
Oh, you're working on? Okay. All right.
So there's some limits we have as humans, right? I've always wondered why churches close. I always wondered why they lock up, they go away. Spending time in the military, the chapel is always open. You go on a base, and this is I've been retired for like 5 years, so this may have changed. Sometimes security measures they change things, but I grew up in the military where the chapel was always open 24/7. The doors are never locked. You can go in there, you could pray. There's not always going to be a chaplain there,
right? But you could always have a space.
You could always have a space, right? Okay. And military people are up all times of nights. I was a sailor.
Weird
Sailors drink. They're away from home. They're depressed. So, that's a place of like comfort, whatever,
Sure.
I want to live to see a day where churches no longer have to lock the doors because there's AI robots who will guard them if they're worried about stuff disappearing. And there's chaplain robots that can meet with people at all times of night and get a human there if need be. It increases the ability to serve people where they're needed the most. The midnight hour is a serious thing, and pastors like sleep, right, Jason?
Right. Humans like sleep. Yes. Yes.
I want to live to see a day where we no longer have a suicide hotline, right? Like there can be like a suicide response line or whatever, where you're not just talking to somebody on the phone. That there can be a robot show up to your, like house, like
already, but it makes you feel less alone.
You can probably, I think somebody would talk to a robot more than they would talk to a human because they're like, well, the robot's not going to judge me. It's not even human.
Yeah. See, you're talking, maybe I'm open to the idea that's the positive tint of what I mentioned before. That it's like, judgment-free zone. Cause what do I care if like, the equivalent of a very nice refrigerator is like talking to, like I'm just getting it off my chest. And so,
and so the positives,
I don't know, that's interesting. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah. The positive things that we could do. And this is why I encourage, like, if you believe in Jesus and you're listening to this podcast, lean into AI, because we need your brain to come up with these ideas where we can fill the gaps for the people of God and the people who need to meet God. We need to create those opportunities and be like, oh wow, you got an intimacy robot? Yeah, I need a spiritual robot. I need a suicide prevention robot. Yeah. I need a depression counselor robot. I need in places where the limited humans can't fill all the gaps. Yeah, we can use this technology to kind of fill those gaps. So I'm excited to see. I think number one, it's going to revolutionize the way we spread the word of God. I think it's really going to help churches reach places that, for sure. I can't wait till there's like a hurricane and you can just drop off 14, 18 wheelers worth of robots and rebuild.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let's go.
The diminishing cost of doing that, like sending that's what I thought, where I kind of thought you were headed. That's funny. We went the same place. Is like the benefits of like a robot can more quickly clean up that house that got knocked over by a tornado and then rebuild it.
Yep.
And the cost of labor is so low that you could just do that for everybody.
Yep.
Like it will diminish the costs of all the manpower and they don't get tired, so they can do things much quicker. So like in emergency situations, the utilization of like all of the knowledge of building a house or how to restructure a business or whatever, all of that coming is like aggregating human intelligence and then using it wisely. Just seems like such a cool future to walk into. So, but all the while trusting God, like God's first and family next, and AI is far down the list of things that like you should put your faith in or lean on fully without God, don't ever let AI replace anything, but use it as a tool. That would be my suggestion, is like, man, there's so many things that we could have gotten into in this episode that it's like barely scratching the surface. There's so many companies out there doing things. There's like, image generation, music generation. Is it copyright? Is it just you collaborating with a higher technology? Those kind of questions. So maybe that'd be for another episode, but no, this was good, man. I really think it's cool. Maybe I love the idea that AI can actually help strengthen faith. We don't have to run in fear. We can actually lean into our faith and see what ways to apply that. So
absolutely,
it's really good. Do you mind finishing up with a prayer for this episode, man?
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
It sounded like you were talking about a part 2, because you were telling me about subscriptions you got. You were telling me about. You sounds like
I teased out a part 2.
Sounds like you were teaming us up there. I was getting a little excited. Well, I don't know about these. I don't know. So we have this good thing where we talk about something in generalities, and then we come back with like specifics. Here, practically, this is what's happening today.
Yeah.
And so
maybe we will do that.
Maybe we can sink our teeth into something like that.
AI part 2. Well, I didn't want to say it live on the pod and then commit you to it. It's like, well, wait, next week was supposed to be, So we were supposed to talk about dental care next week. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, brush your teeth, folks. You mind praying us out, man?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Heavenly Father, God, we thank you because you're a God over everything. And Lord, you know everything that's happening and that will happen, God. Lord, help us to not live in fear, but to live and know that you are in control of everything and that you allow the things to happen on this earth, because the earth is yours and the fullness thereof. God, I pray today, Lord, that someone who does not know you finds you and begins to follow you, Lord. Lord, I pray, Lord, their heart is softened towards you and they understand that you are a God who never fails. Technology fails. Man fails. God, you never fail. Thank you for never failing us. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen, man. So good. God never fails. I can't think of a better way to wrap it. I knew you would do good. This was so fun, man.
This is good, man.
It's good to be back. So shout out to you, man. We'll see you next time. Maybe for AI part 2.
Let's go, man.
What a tease by us.
Let's go.
We'll find out next time.
Yeah, so you got to tune in to see.
Till then, we'll see you guys later.
See you later.